Most people misunderstand intelligence. Everyone wants to be intelligent. People admire intelligence. They trust intelligence. They assume intelligence is the invisible force behind success, influence, and achievement. And yet, despite how much we value intelligence, most people misunderstand what it actually is. When people imagine a highly intelligent person, they often picture someone with an extraordinary memory, someone who can recall endless facts, someone who always has the perfect answer, someone who dominates conversations with knowledge, someone who appears certain about everything. But reality is rarely that simple. Some of the smartest people you will ever meet do not fit that description at all. They are not always the loudest voices in the room. They do not constantly display their knowledge. They do not feel the need to prove their intelligence. In many cases, they seem surprisingly ordinary, and that is because intelligence is often mistaken for information. But information and intelligence are not the same thing. Information is what you know. Intelligence is how you think. One person can memorize thousands of facts and still make terrible decisions. Another person can possess only average knowledge and consistently navigate life with wisdom and clarity. The difference lies not in what enters the mind. The difference lies in what the mind does with it. Art of thinking reminds us that life is not shaped primarily by circumstances. It is shaped by interpretation. Two people can experience the exact same setback. One becomes bitter. The other becomes stronger. One feels defeated. The other sees an opportunity to learn. One becomes trapped by the event. The other uses the event as fuel for growth. The circumstance remains unchanged. Only the thinking changes, and that thinking changes everything. This is why true intelligence reveals itself most clearly during difficult moments. Not when life is easy, not when everything is going according to plan, but when uncertainty arrives, when failure appears, when emotions become intense, when decisions become complicated. At those moments, knowledge alone is not enough. The quality of your thinking becomes the deciding factor. The truly intelligent person understands something that many people never realize. The mind is not merely a storage room for facts. It is a lens, and the quality of that lens determines how clearly reality can be seen. The habits we are about to explore are not secret techniques. They are not complicated strategies. They are simple shifts in perspective. Yet these shifts create extraordinary results over time. The first habit begins with something that causes endless conflict in modern life: the desire to be right. And ironically, the smartest people are often the least interested in winning arguments, because they are focused on something far more valuable: the truth. 1. They do not need to be right. Most arguments are not really about truth. They are about identity. The moment someone challenges a belief, many people feel personally attacked. Their heart rate increases. Their emotions rise. Their defenses appear almost instantly. The conversation stops being about ideas. It becomes a battle for validation, a battle to protect the ego. This reaction is incredibly common, and it is also one of the biggest obstacles to intelligence, because the desire to be right often prevents us from learning. Think about it. The moment your primary goal becomes defending your position, curiosity disappears. You stop listening. You stop exploring. You stop questioning your assumptions. Instead, every ounce of energy is directed toward proving yourself correct. The intelligent mind works differently. It values understanding more than victory. It values discovery more than validation. And this changes the entire dynamic of conversation. When someone presents a different opinion, intelligent people do not immediately build a defense. Instead, they become curious. They ask questions, not sarcastic questions, not questions designed to embarrass the other person. Genuine questions. Questions intended to understand. Questions intended to uncover information. Questions intended to reveal perspectives that may not have been considered before. This habit requires humility, because it demands acceptance of a difficult truth. You do not know everything. No one does. Every person possesses experiences you have never lived, perspectives you have never considered, insights you have never encountered. The intelligent person recognizes this reality, and because of that recognition, they remain open. They understand that being wrong is not a threat. Being wrong is an opportunity. After all, every improvement begins with discovering something you previously misunderstood. Every breakthrough begins with recognizing a limitation. Every lesson begins with admitting there is more to learn. Ironically, the people who fear being wrong remain trapped by their mistakes. The people who accept the possibility of being wrong continue growing. This principle extends far beyond conversations. It applies to careers, relationships, business, personal growth, The ability to revise your thinking may be one of the greatest forms of intelligence that exists, because reality does not reward stubbornness. Reality rewards adaptation. The smartest people are not those who never change their minds. They are the people who change their minds when evidence demands it. And this flexibility allows them to see something that many others miss: the bigger picture, because intelligence is not only about understanding ideas, it is also about understanding context. 2. They zoom out. One of the most common mental traps is becoming trapped inside the present moment. A single problem begins to feel like an entire life. A single setback begins to feel permanent. A single mistake begins to define identity. This happens because human beings naturally focus on immediate experiences. Pain feels large. Fear feels large. Embarrassment feels large. And when something feels large enough, it blocks everything else from view. Imagine holding a coin directly in front of your eye. The coin is tiny, yet it can completely block an entire mountain. Problems operate in much the same way. When viewed too closely, they appear enormous. When viewed within a broader context, they often become manageable. Intelligent people understand this instinctively. They know how to mentally zoom out. When a project fails, they do not conclude that they are failures. When a relationship ends, they do not conclude that they are unlovable. When a goal remains unfinished, they do not assume success is impossible. Instead, they step back. They widen the frame. They examine the situation from a larger perspective. This habit dramatically changes emotional reactions, because context creates clarity. A difficult week looks very different when viewed as part of an entire year. A disappointing year looks different when viewed as part of an entire decade. The intelligent mind understands that individual events rarely tell the full story. Patterns matter more than moments. Trends matter more than incidents. Long-term direction matters more than short-term discomfort. This perspective reduces unnecessary suffering, not because intelligent people avoid pain, but because they refuse to exaggerate its significance. Every challenge becomes information. Every setback becomes feedback. Every obstacle becomes part of a larger process. And this mindset transforms problems. Instead of becoming evidence of failure, problems become puzzles. And puzzles invite solutions. Art of Thinking teaches that wisdom often emerges when emotional distance replaces emotional immersion. The ability to zoom out creates that distance. It allows reality to be seen more accurately. An accurate perception leads to better decisions. But there is another habit that may be even more powerful. Because once intelligent people understand the bigger picture, they immediately ask a different question. What part of this can I actually control? 3. They separate control from chaos. Few things drain human energy faster than fighting battles that cannot be won. And yet millions of people do this every day. They worry about other people's opinions. They worry about future scenarios that may never happen. They worry about circumstances beyond their influence. They worry about events they cannot predict and outcomes they cannot control. Hours become days. Days become years. And enormous amounts of mental energy disappear into problems that remain untouched. The intelligent mind recognizes this pattern, and it chooses a different path. Instead of obsessing over everything, intelligent people separate reality into two categories: what can be influenced and what cannot. This distinction seems simple, but its impact is profound. Whenever a challenge appears, intelligent people ask themselves a powerful question: what is within my control right now? This question immediately redirects attention. Instead of focusing on uncertainty, they focus on action. Instead of focusing on fear, they focus on responsibility. Instead of focusing on outcomes, they focus on effort. This shift creates freedom. Because freedom does not come from controlling everything. Freedom comes from understanding what does not need to be controlled. Many people spend their lives trying to manage things that were never theirs to manage. The opinions of strangers, the emotions of others, the unpredictability of the future, the randomness of life itself. Intelligent people let go of these impossible responsibilities, not because they do not care, but because they understand reality. And understanding reality is far more useful than resisting it. This acceptance conserves energy, energy that can then be invested into meaningful action, into improvement, into growth, into problem solving. The result is remarkable. While others remain trapped in cycles of anxiety, intelligent people remain productive. While others exhaust themselves with worry, intelligent people create progress. And over time, these small differences produce dramatically different lives. Because attention is one of the most valuable resources a person possesses. Where attention goes, life follows. The intelligent person understands this, and for that reason, They guard their attention carefully. Yet there is another resource they protect just as fiercely: their silence. Because in a noisy world, silence has become a forgotten form of power. 4. They respect silence. Modern life has become addicted to noise. Every empty moment is filled. Music plays while people drive. Videos play while people eat. Notifications interrupt thoughts every few minutes. Even moments of rest are often consumed by distraction. Silence has become uncomfortable. Many people experience a strange sense of anxiety when nothing is happening, when the phone is quiet, when the room is still, when there is nothing demanding immediate attention. Yet intelligent people often develop a very different relationship with silence. They do not see silence as emptiness. They see it as space. Space for observation. Space for reflection. Space for understanding. This distinction matters more than most people realize. Because insight rarely appears in the middle of chaos, the mind requires periods of stillness to organize information. Without silence, thoughts remain scattered. With silence, patterns begin to emerge. Connections become visible. Ideas mature. Understanding deepens. Some of the most important realizations in life arrive quietly. Not during moments of excitement, not during moments of constant activity, but during a walk alone, a silent morning, a long drive, a moment of reflection after everyone else has gone home. These are the moments when the mind begins speaking clearly. Intelligent people know this, and because they know this, they intentionally create space for silence. They are also comfortable allowing silence to exist in conversations. Most people rush to fill every pause. They fear awkwardness. They fear judgment. They fear being misunderstood. So they speak quickly, often without thinking, often without listening. The intelligent person does something different. They pause. They listen. They allow the other person to finish. They give thoughts room to breathe. And because of this, they often hear things others miss. The truth is that people reveal far more when they feel heard. Most individuals spend conversations preparing their next response. Very few spend conversations truly listening. This is why good listeners often appear wise. Not because they possess more knowledge, but because they gather more information. Observation becomes their advantage. Art of Thinking reminds us that wisdom is not always found in speaking. Sometimes wisdom is found in noticing, in watching, in listening, in allowing silence to reveal what noise conceals. And nowhere does this become more important than during moments of emotional pressure, because emotions have a way of turning intelligent people into impulsive people, unless they possess the next habit: the ability to pause before reacting. 5. They pause before they react. Most regrets are born from speed. A moment of anger, a moment of fear, a moment of embarrassment, a moment of wounded pride. The emotion arrives, the reaction follows, and before awareness has time to intervene, damage is done. A relationship becomes strained. An opportunity disappears. A conflict escalates. A decision creates consequences that cannot easily be undone. This happens because emotions are powerful. They evolve to produce immediate responses, and in many situations, that speed once served a purpose. But modern life often rewards a different skill: not faster reactions, better reactions. Intelligent people understand this distinction. They understand that emotions are valuable sources of information, but they are poor decision makers. Feeling angry does not automatically mean anger should guide behavior. Feeling afraid does not automatically mean fear should determine action. Feeling hurt does not automatically justify retaliation. This awareness creates a small but powerful gap, a gap between feeling and responding. The gap may last only a few seconds, yet those few seconds change everything. Within that pause, intelligent people ask questions. What is actually happening? Why am I reacting this way? What response will produce the best outcome? What will matter tomorrow? What will matter 1 year from now? These questions slow emotional momentum, and when momentum slows, awareness returns. Suddenly, the situation looks different. The insult no longer feels catastrophic. The disagreement no longer feels personal. The inconvenience no longer feels unbearable. Perspective returns. Clarity returns. Choice returns. This is one of the most underrated forms of power that exists, because most people are controlled by whatever emotion appears first. Intelligent people are guided by something deeper: deliberate thought. They still experience frustration. They still experience disappointment. They still experience anger. The difference is that they do not immediately surrender authority to those emotions. Instead, they observe them, understand them, and then decide how to proceed. Over time, this habit produces extraordinary results. Relationships improve. Decisions improve. Reputation improves. Inner peace improves. Because emotional control is not about suppressing feelings. It is about preventing feelings from becoming dictators. The intelligent person remains calm not because life is easier, but because awareness remains stronger than impulse. And beneath this awareness lies another important realization. The realization that no matter how much knowledge a person gains, there is always more to learn. They never stop learning. One of the strangest paradoxes of intelligence is this: the more a person learns, the more they become aware of what they do not know. Ignorance often creates certainty. Understanding often creates humility. This is why truly intelligent people rarely behave as though they possess all the answers. They understand how complex reality actually is. Every answer reveals new questions. Every discovery reveals new mysteries. Every insight exposes new limitations. The intelligent mind remains open because it understands that growth never truly ends. Many people stop learning long before life stops teaching. They become attached to old beliefs, old assumptions, old identities. They decide they already understand enough. And from that moment forward, growth begins to slow. The intelligent person takes a different approach. They remain students, not because they lack confidence, but because they respect reality. Reality is constantly changing. People change. Cultures change. Technology changes. Circumstances change. And wisdom requires adaptation. The willingness to learn protects intelligent people from one of the greatest dangers of all: arrogance. Arrogance creates blindness. It convinces people they no longer need new information. It convinces people they no longer need feedback. It convinces people they no longer need growth. The result is stagnation. Curiosity creates the opposite effect. Curiosity keeps perception flexible. It keeps assumptions under examination. It keeps the mind alive. This is why intelligent people learn from everything. Success teaches. Failure teaches. Relationships teach. Conflict teaches. Observation teaches. Even painful experiences become sources of knowledge. Nothing is wasted. Everything becomes material for growth. Art of Thinking encourages a mindset that transforms life into a classroom. Not a classroom filled with exams, but a classroom filled with experiences. Each experience contains a lesson. Each lesson contains wisdom. And each piece of wisdom expands awareness. This lifelong commitment to learning forms the foundation of every habit we have explored. Because intelligence is not a destination. It is an ongoing process, a way of engaging with reality, a way of relating to uncertainty, a way of approaching life itself. And this leads us to the final realization, the realization that changes how intelligence is defined altogether. What intelligence really means. Most people spend their lives searching for answers. They believe intelligence is measured by certainty, by knowledge, by expertise, by the ability to appear confident. But the deeper you study human nature, the more a different truth begins to emerge. Intelligence is not primarily about answers. It is about awareness. Awareness of reality, awareness of assumptions, awareness of emotions, awareness of limitations. The intelligent person is not the person who always knows what to do. The intelligent person is the person who knows how to think when they do not know what to do. That distinction changes everything, because life rarely offers complete certainty. Life presents ambiguity, complexity, unexpected change, conflicting information, difficult decisions, moments when there is no obvious answer. In those moments, memorized knowledge becomes less important. What matters is the quality of thinking. Can you remain calm? Can you stay curious? Can you separate emotion from fact? Can you observe before reacting? Can you adapt when circumstances change? These abilities form the true foundation of intelligence. Not IQ, not grades, not titles, not status. Thinking, awareness, judgment, wisdom. Throughout this journey, we have explored 5 habits. The habit of valuing truth over ego. The habit of seeing the bigger picture. The habit of focusing on what can be controlled. The habit of embracing silence. The habit of pausing before reacting. Together, these habits create a mind that is resilient, clear, balanced, and remarkably effective. Yet perhaps the most important lesson is this: none of these habits require extraordinary talent. They do not require genius. They do not require special gifts. They can be developed, practiced, strengthened, day by day, decision by decision, thought by thought. This means intelligence is not merely something you possess. It is something you cultivate, a garden rather than a trophy, a process rather than an achievement, and every day presents another opportunity to strengthen that process. Art of Thinking reminds us that the goal is not to become smarter than everyone else. The goal is to become wiser than the version of yourself that existed yesterday, to think a little more clearly, to react a little less impulsively, to understand a little more deeply, to live a little more consciously. Because true intelligence is not measured by how much information fills the mind. It is measured by how effectively the mind serves life. And when that understanding finally takes root, something remarkable happens. The world does not necessarily become simpler, but you become better equipped to navigate its complexity. You stop fighting every disagreement. You stop panicking over every setback. You stop wasting energy on things beyond your control. You become more patient, more thoughtful, more aware. And in that quiet transformation, intelligence reveals its highest purpose. Not helping you win more arguments, not helping you impress more people, but helping you live with greater clarity, greater wisdom, and greater peace.